So, good evening and good morning. Let's begin with the Friday study circle, where, as we all know, we are taking up passages from the Sunlit path, which has words, compilation of words from the mother. And the mother herself has said, has advised, has warned, has informed not to take her words as mere words because they are truly forces in action. So, a lot of times in our life, we wonder what to do, we wonder where to go. At times, we wonder which wall to bang our heads against, for example. And we have all that we need to know only if we were open to it, open to receiving it, open to becoming it, open to the strength that I need to show in order to receive it. So, as we begin, aspiring and praying for more grace, more wisdom, more receptivity, more capability to receive the grace, to become one drop of poison less in the ocean. Thank you. So last week we had taken up the passage receptivity to the universal vital forces, and this week we have to start with three sources of vital force. So if anybody has the capacity and the will to read, kindly unmute and read the passage for us. Thank you. I'll read.
I can read if you. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Charuji, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Three sources of vital force. In the immense majority of people, all their vital force comes to them from below, from the earth, from food, from all the sensations. From food, they draw vital energy out of food, and it is by seeing, hearing, touching, feeling that they contact the energies contained in matter. They draw them in this way. This is their customary food. Now, some people have a very developed vital, which they have subjected to a discipline. And they have a sense of immensity and are in contact with the world and the movements of world forces. And so they can receive. If in a moment of movement of calling, they can receive the universal vital forces which enter them and renew the dose of energy they need. So I'll read this passage one more time. Now, some people have a very developed vital, which they have subjected to a discipline, and they have a sense of immensity and are in contact with the world and the movements of world forces. And so they can receive. If in a moment of calling, they can receive the universal vital forces which enter them and renew the dose of energy they need. There are others, very rare ones, or maybe in a rare moments of their individual life, who have an aspiration for the higher consciousness, higher force, higher knowledge, and who, by this call, draw to themselves the forces of higher domains. And so, this also renews them very special energies of a special value. But unless one is practicing yoga, a regular discipline, Usually, one does not often contact the source. One draws from the same level or from below. Thank you, Tar.
Thank you, Taraji. And it's reminding me of, and we have heard this before also, that in this session of inspirational life, while we were reading what we were reading now, what we are reading, so Sri Aurobindo had even mentioned, sleep. Oh, that's a bad habit. You won't need it very soon. Something like this he had said to Pavitrana. So, because my mind cannot rest unless I am asleep. I need sleep, otherwise I'll go crazy. Because I am not open to receiving these forces, these energies. There's so much thickness around me that everything is around me and yet I cannot draw from it. Most of us. So just even acknowledging that this is there and there's so much. I don't know if we have discussed this before, I know, but a long time back. There are also people who are called breatharians, who haven't maybe eaten in like 20, 25 years. There are now even courses. I know there's one in Mumbai that happens every year or something, in which there's this person who is a breatharian and who teaches people how to increase that prana in their whole own life so that they don't need to depend on food anymore. So, in the immense majority of people, all their vital force comes to from below, from the earth, from food, from all the sensations. So this even the sensation word I think is pretty interesting. The other day I was listening, I don't know, I haven't really reflected on it, but I was listening to something from Osho, and he was saying that, like in general, married people have a more better life expectancy than single people. And he was stating it as a fact, not as a joke, because the fighting, the chaos, the disharmony gives us something to look forward to. It gives us more life. So that's something that keeps us active, more engaged. So I found that very interesting. I found that yes, there are a lot of times I see that I don't have to say anything, but I keep, I would say something just for the heck of saying, and that would annoy someone. And even if now I know at times I'm able to stop, at times I'm still not able to stop. So there is something in me which looks for some kind of uproar or chaos or just poking. What is that? What in me is still drawing some pleasure, some excitement, some movement from these pokings, these words that we use, these comments that we say are neutral, but we know they are not. Very interesting. So this again to see sensation here. I was pleasantly surprised. Not pleasantly surprised, but just surprised. Yeah. So from food, they draw vital energy out of food, and it is by seeing, hearing, touching, feeling that they contact the energies contained in matter. They draw them in this way. This is their customary food. Now, some people have a very developed vital which they have subjected to a discipline, and they have a sense of immensity and are in contact with the world and the movements of world forces. So they have a sense of immensity, are in contact with the world and the movements of world forces, and so they can receive. See, again, it's interesting that it's not said that, and so they are given. No, and so they can receive. So wahan se there is nothing lacking. Only I am not able to receive it. Can I look at this more closely? And so they can receive if in a movement of calling. They can receive the universal vital forces which enter them and renew the dose of energy they need. There are others, very rare ones, or maybe in a very rare moment of their individual life, who have an aspiration for the higher consciousness, higher force, higher knowledge, and who by this call draw to themselves the forces of higher domain, right? What do they have? An aspiration for the higher consciousness, higher force, and higher knowledge. So this is their skill set. I mean, what is the word I'm you wanting? I don't know. Their qualification. So what is a qualification? An aspiration for the higher consciousness, higher force, higher knowledge, and who by this call draw to themselves the forces of higher domains. And so this also renews in them very special energies of a special value. But unless one is practicing yoga, a regular discipline, usually one does not often contact this source. One draws from the same level or from below. So there are stories that I know, a story of a person, of a lady who got married and whose, I don't know, the in-laws, they were very surprised as how much she used to eat, or they felt she needs to eat less, so they would taunt her, kinds. And one day she felt she had enough. I don't know her history, I don't know her name, it's just a story I heard. And she said, I won't eat anymore. It's not worth. I would rather die than hear these comments and stuff. And something in her shifted, like her aspiration or her decision was so strong. And maybe not coming from the ego. I don't think I needed a maybe there. That from that day onward, suddenly she was able to draw energies from, the other sources, and she didn't need to eat after that. Yeah. Any?
I know the story. This is uh, this is the name of the lady is Giriwala, and Paramahansa Yogananda. He has written himself actually, and he came back after 20 years in US. He was teaching yoga, which Vivekananda, when he has visited US and UK at the time, he has mentioned that there will be some guru from India who will be teaching yoga, because I do not have so much of time to be here only and teach yoga. So he went there, he made an institute at London, he was teaching. And after 20 years, he came back to India, and this person, mm, he brought along with him a jeep, because those are sea route actually, the sea route. He brought a jeep from there to move in India, and 2 or 3 persons from US, and with one photographer and videographer. And so then he was moving one place to another place. Then there's a Nadia district in West Bengal. They visited. His brother was, Giribala's brother was a lawyer. So they asked him that whether can he go to this. He says the road is very bad, but since you have got a jeep and all, probably you can go there. So they went there and all, and they interviewed. So Giribala's story is like this, that she was a very tender age of 9 years of age, she was married. And after that, the mother-in-law was taunting her every time because she was eating more food, more rice actually, a volume of rice. This is such a small girl and you are eating so much, because she used to do a lot of physical work at home. And at that age, actually, one feels more appetite and all this. But she used to every time taunt her. She was feeling bad. On a particular day, while she was eating lunch at that time, and she said that, oh, why are you eating so much and all that. So then she felt very bad. She left the food and she got up and she wanted to commit suicide. Nearby there was a river. In that river, she wanted to get drowned and die. So on the way, when she was approaching the river, and she got some message from the top, as if somebody is telling that, where are you going? She said that I am going to die. Then that voice said that, is there any other way to stop this? No, because why are you going to die? She said that, even I am eating food, that is the basic necessity, even that I am not allowed. And it has been taunted and all this. So I want to finish my life. So, so the voice said, is there any other way? You just sit down, wherever you are, you sit down and just think for 5 minutes. Again, after 5 minutes, I will ask you. So she sat down there and she was thinking that, is there any other way? So after 5 minutes, again, that voice came and I said, have you found out anything, any other solution? She says, no, there is no alternative. Now I have decided that I'm going. So then why can't you try? That voice said from her. Then she gave a try. She then it became night and all this and all this. She thought in the morning she will die. She will not be anything. So in the night, so the first thing, she was sleeping somewhere, and but in the morning she was seeing that she's alive. She starts touching his hand, feet, and all this and all this. She's still alive. There's nothing happened. She was not dead. So from that time onwards, she decided that she will not eat food. So she stopped eating food. And now, when Yogananda came after the 20 years and all, then she was living there. So they are interviewing the process. She said, for half an hour, I go and sit down in the sun. And I drink only water. There's nothing else. No solid food or nothing. Or rice. And then when this people from America, they came, and it was published in that book. So their scientists, they did the research and all, and they said that it is possible. In the footnote, it has been given explanation where it has been told that, like the plants with the help of the chlorophyll, and they are following the forming the nutrients for the plants. So similarly, once she is sitting in the sun rays has got the power to generate those nutrients in their body with the help of water, and a person can survive. So that the scientists there, after research, they have concluded this, which is also written in this book itself in the footnote. And they have given that chemical name and all this, what is formed and all this. So this is the story of Giribala. This is the autobiography of Paramahansa Yogananda. This is the story of Giribala. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember reading this actually. Thank you for sharing that. It jogged my memory. I've read that book many times. And yes, I remember that incident from the book. I was thinking actually, just because you mentioned autobiography of a yogi, that is a good example where there are people there who clearly are drawing energy from, uh, you know, the larger vital forces. There's also one story, I think, in the book about this saint. He fights tigers. I mean, now where you get the energy to fight tigers? And they say he says, I was a weakling. I had no physical strength. And anyways, it won't go into the story in detail. I mean, he turns towards spirituality and eventually, but he yeah, I mean, so now if you think about it, how people who can display such incredible strength, I mean, even if they're not spiritual, they're certainly drawing from some other source, right? uh so that just reminded me uh that could actually also be example. uh, I was actually trying to think in what mother says here, that for those, and especially for like all of us who uh, you know are children, I guess how uh, how this would influence or impact us, right? Like, I mean, I guess I certainly am not anywhere close to reducing my food intake, but that's I, because at the same time, I mean, I think Madan Shilpindo also always emphasize moderation, right? Not the not the greed aspect. So you essentially eat, but you don't have to become a slave to the food. Sleep also moderation. So I think a lot of that is emphasized. I was just trying to understand, like, if we aspire, how can we? There's a passage here that we just read. Can we put up the passage again? Was the mother says something about, okay, yeah, the aspiration. Who have an aspiration? The other, maybe in very rare cases, who can draw to themselves the forces of higher domains. And this also renews in them very special energies of a special value. But, and then she goes on, but unless one is practicing yoga, a regular discipline, usually one does not often contact the source. One draws from the same level. I was just trying to understand that a little deeper. So if one is practicing the yoga, like, we all at least are trying to, how can we become more conscious of this? I mean, how can we, uh, like, I mean, one simple thing, at least I know people have done it as well. You spend more time outside, you feel kind of energized, right? Like, in a way, with nature. Uh, I feel personally that is probably due to this, that one feels a sense of renewal in some sense. I mean, a very basic level. I'm not going to go into too much, but I think one feels, renewed. While there are places, I think sometimes we go where we feel depleted, exhausted almost. That was something that came to mind.
There was this quote from the Gita which said something like this, that we don't reach our goal, our main aim, our purpose, because we are quite satisfied with the smaller wins that we keep getting, right? Like, if I have a smaller goals, that has instant fulfillment, right? Like, I want to do this, okay, I know if I do this, I will get this. So that is very fulfilling. So I think what you were saying, it's like, do I even want it is the question. I might in a moment, like while I'm sitting here, I might want it. कि yes, it sounds interesting. Oh, that sounds good. ये भी हो सकता है. It's a wonder, it's an amazement. But again, what we call real life, we don't really want that. And I think once we truly want that, The way will be shown, the path will be shown. But no matter what I say, I'm usually quite okay with the small delights, the small fun, the small exchanges, interactions, entertainment. They are suffice, they are sufficient for me right now. And not only these, there are so many more stories. I'm not able to recall the name. The picture is in front of me of another, realized soul who wanted to see God, and what no matter what he did, he couldn't see, he didn't get the darshan, he didn't get the darshan, and then he decided that he'll go and he will just kind of flow in Ganga. He would take the Jal Samadhi. That's it. He doesn't. The pain of not being one with God, not being able to see Him was too much for him. And when he started walking towards the Ganga, and when he was about to go in and then just offer himself, then a voice stopped him. Badalji would most likely know which, I don't know, mistake I'm talking about. So the level, the intensity, the pain, the will has to be really strong, because this again, how they say, like often I have referred, like Acharya ji used to say, Acharya Prashant, that ye mitti hi kharab hai. The mitti that we are made of, the clay, the matter that we are made of, that is the issue, that is the problem, that is what keeps us totally at one, this limitedness. And when I'm able to offer it fully, I would rather die than be this. Or, we talk about disgust, that we have to be disgusted, like, say, this girl whose story we are hearing, we just heard. It was a disgust, a total disgust, कि इस ऐसा खा के क्या करूं, इससे अच्छा तो I should die. So if I have to reach that level, it doesn't have to be disgust, like mother says, it can also be an aspiration, but not a momentary aspiration. What am I ready to give? What am I ready to offer? What am I ready to change? The answer is not much, honestly. In my thoughts, maybe, but when it comes down to it, making efforts, I don't know, like, life kicks in and I go back to the same pattern.
Yeah, that is a very beautiful point. This disgust. I think mothers also said this somewhere about it. And I remember that story that you mentioned, Taru, vaguely, but I don't know from which book. Uh, there is another one, since we brought up autobiography for Yogi. I think it is one of, uh, and I think Babaji's disciple. Similar story. He jumps off. He's trying to reach Babaji, and then he goes, finally finds him. And says, I cannot accept you. And then he says, well, if you can't, then I'm going to jump from the cliff. And he jumps, right? So then he revives him. But I think that's it's very interesting because it's a very subtle difference. There is that despair, or, because, I mean, suicide is always, I mean, practically never. Right? But then there are some of these incidents where I think, as you pointed out, there is a genuine disgust, right? And it's a very fine distinction between those things. But the one actually pushes you to change, the other one is, of resignation, right? That is the difference. Where you are, in the one, you are willing to stake everything. That is the fundamental difference. We are not willing to stake everything. All of us, most of us, I mean, certainly me, right? I mean, we always cherish the old small things, right? So, yeah, that's a beautiful point. And also mother herself ate very little. I think probably mostly everybody might know this. She ate practically nothing, and she should sleep like 2 hours or something like that. I think if somebody once, I think it's there somewhere in the agenda, or maybe. they asked us, you think I draw my energy from food? I mean, she kind of just said it as a passing, like, I mean, you really think that's where it's coming from, right? And yeah, but so that, then mother, of course, was, very adept in all you know, the occult. So, so she, I think, had mastered this very early. Uh,
Uh, okay. But one thing here in this last paragraph, mother also said that, but unless one is practicing yoga, a regular discipline, usually one does not often contact this source. One draws from the same level or from below. So this Girivala, the story which is narrating, in that also she does yoga every day, rather every day, every night. How much of time and all, I don't know. But that was her normal routine actually. So to draw that power, probably we have to be connected. So that is must, because mother is telling that unless one is practicing yoga, regular discipline, that is there. It is not only that without food, but along with this, these are to be done. That supernatural power which is coming. So that requires yoga, practicing of yoga.
Yeah, and yes, Captain.
Hello.
And you know what was being mentioned about, like, say, offering one's body or life. Again, that also I think is really about the center from which those things are happening. Because usually what we hear and what is considered like really bad is, maybe the disappointment faced by the vital, right? The lower vital. But this thing, what you were talking about, say kind of, he said, okay, if you don't accept me, I would rather die. And he jumped off the cliff. And then Babaji said, "Kecha, now he's ready. He wasn't ready before." So that thing is not a lower vital thing. It's not a stubbornness of the lower vital. That again is like a living aspiration for the highest it feels. So I don't think the distinction would be subtle. I think the distinction is very clear. Even there's a very beautiful talk by Thich Nhat Hanh, Thai, the Vietnamese monk, in which he's talking about, self-immolation, like how in the war, in that Vietnamese war, there were some monks who had set themselves on fire to get the attention. And he said that how, this is not suicide, this wasn't, and how one of the persons who was the first one to do it, how they had written basically a letter before they set themselves on fire, saying that this is not out of any disappointment, this is for the love of my country, and this is the way I can get attention, this is my way of getting attention. So that also is very nice. If I can find it, I'll forward it to you. And yeah, so nothing can be boxed or classified or said right or wrong. Everything depends on where it's coming from. Yeah. And pretty amazing. I mean, we feel it's miraculous that one person could do it. And yet, how Captain described that, if sunlight can do it for plants, they can do it for us. I mean, definitely, but if I have the will or if I'm willing, I guess that's the thing. But I guess moving on. There was something that I had read, I think it might resonate here also, about how we can, I don't know, do a bit more. Like Mother was talking about calm and quietude and stuff. So there were a few points. So I don't know what the topic is. These are assorted things from calmness and peace. So if anybody would want to read these 7 points from the Mother. Yeah, I guess I'll read. So Mother says, a quiet mind makes consciousness easier. We might just take it matter of factly, yeah, quiet mind, I can do it. And yet, when we sit in with ourselves, there is so much mechanical chatter. It's crazy. So a quiet mind makes consciousness easier. Point two, if you keep a quiet mind and a constant contact with myself and the mother and the true light and force. So I think this would be from Sri Aurobindo then. So he's saying that if you keep a quiet mind and a constant contact with myself and the mother and the true light and force, then things will become easy and straight. It is the only way to get to the realization. The quiet mind and constant contact. 3. It is a mistake to think that this method will not lead you to the supramental realization. It is the only way to advance towards the supramental change. I am assuming he is again referring to a quiet mind and constant contact with him and the mother and the true light and force, which I guess they are depicting. They are the living realizations of that true light and force. Point number 4, it is because you become doubtful and begin to follow after other ways and other lower experiences that you get again confused and full of incertitude. I think this is the main problem that he is mentioning. We become doubtful or we become greedy or because we are sticky people or because we keep following our small delights. I am not enough. The light, the promise of the light and force is not enough. The love being offered, the oneness we have spoken about is not enough. And I keep following other ways and other experiences. And then you get confused and full of incertitudes. Point 5. Keep to one way, the one shown by you, the one shown to you by me. It is by following this way that you can reach the wideness you want. If you run about on many ways, that will bring not wideness but confusion. This is something that is quite stressed upon, and this is something that, especially, I think Christianity has used that. How Jesus had said that I am the only way. And that's why they say that because the God of Son had said that, he is the only way. So Christianity is the only way. That when we go deep, all the masters, all the avatars, basically it is said. Krishna said, okay, Arjun, for you, I am the only way. Because for me, the only way is the one that's right in front of me. And if I'm not open to that which is right in front of me, what will I gain from 15 other things? So to keep to one way, the one shown to you by me, it is by following this way that you can reach the wideness you want. If you run about on many ways, that will bring not wideness but confusion. And we have seen this again and again and again in our lives. Point number 6. Here in the lower nature, there are many things, but they are in a state of disharmony. So to follow them all together means disharmony, confusion, want of organization, fight. In the higher supramental nature, there is a greater wideness and much more is there than in the lower nature. But all is harmony, organization, peace. Follow therefore the one way that leads to the higher supramental nature. And the last point, do not be impatient because full knowledge does not come to you at once. In quietude of mind, keep the contact. Let the true light and force work, and with time, all knowledge will come and the truth will grow in you. I like to read the last point again. Do not be impatient because full knowledge does not come to you at once. In quietude of mind, keep the contact, let the true light and force work, and with time, all knowledge will come and the truth will grow in you. Yeah. Any reflections
Uh,
on?
uh, Taruji, can you send it through WhatsApp, this
Yeah,
text?
definitely.
Thank you.
Mm. Yeah. So I think then, unless there are any more reflections or comments, this is it. And although there's still time, but I think it's best to just take one passage a day so that we have the time to truly reflect, to practice, to invite what we have read in our lives, and not to stop at just being entertained or amused, because that's what we mostly do. Yeah. So if there's anything we can share, otherwise we'll call it a session. Okay. So we'll end the session here as we always do. Sincerely thanking grace, thanking divine for these words, for these forces and action which are given in front of us. I cannot say, I cannot see if I refuse to see what is shown right in front of me. So praying for more light, more sensibility, more wisdom, more grace, more receptivity, more progress for everyone in the world. Thank you.
You.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.